What's the means for salvation for people before Jesus, and why did it take so long for Jesus to show up?
Okay. That one's, the first part's answerable. The second one, I don't know if that is answerable, but I'll try. Far be it from me to have nothing to say about something. The basis of salvation in the Old Testament is, I think, the same as the basis for salvation in the New Testament. And remember, when you talk about salvation, we today tend to have a sort of judicial idea of salvation, like a legal definition of salvation. You know, what constitutes meeting the minimum criteria to go to heaven instead of hell. And so it's all, on the basis of what happens to you after you die. The Bible does not share that perspective at all. In fact, salvation is mainly about what's going on here and now. You can think of salvation as, and the Hebrew word that's often used is shalom, peace, wholeness. And so the question is are you saved? It means, are you whole? Are you being made whole? Are you saved? Are you being saved? Will you be saved? But the will you be saved is simply an extension of what's going on now. And so it's important that to not see this sort of what was the legal means by which someone could escape end times judgment in the Old Testament. That's not the way that the Old Testament frames the question, or the New Testament. The basis, I think, is always the same, and that is this. Is your heart orientated towards God or away from God? Are you open to God, who is life, who is love, who is beauty itself, who is truth itself? Are you open to that? Which means submitting to it and orientating your whole life around that? Or are you close to it, living your own self-centered life, coming up with your own kind of definition of reality, calling your own shots? And God judges people based on, and pours life into them based on the degree to which they are open or closed to Him in any particular historical circumstance. I think all salvation is through Jesus Christ, but clearly not everybody who's covered by the salvation of Jesus Christ, the life-giving wholeness of Jesus Christ, not everybody who is covered by that knows Jesus Christ, because no one in the Old Testament knew Him, and yet they were embraced by His life. So that, I think, is the case throughout. I think it's the same salvation in both the Old and the New Testaments. Now, as to why it took God so long, I really don't know. Paul says, the only information we're given is that in the fullness of time, or at the right time, it could be translated. At the right time, when God saw it was the right time, He sent His Son into the world. What constituted the right time, I don't know. Humanity was right for it. I believe for a number of reasons that God had always, even before the rebellion of our original parents, I think God's plan was always to court humanity for a time and then to become one with us. I think what's called the incarnation, where God becomes a human being, that was always part of the plan. It became a rescue mission after our fall or our rebellion, but He was always going to become one with us. I think that was part of the plan. So there's this courtship period, and then would come the consummation. Now, why the courtship period lasted as long as it did and not otherwise, I don't know. I'm sure there are reasons that God had, but He hasn't revealed them to us, so it's anyone's guess.